Thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're obviously in the right place for a discussion about something we know, we love, and we call it business aviation. Except it turns out we might have a hard time sometimes explaining what we've been selling and how we've been selling it. We might have been selling it in the wrong way. Now, before I start my speech, let me start you by explaining who I represent and why we think it's worth considering to listen about a big project the EBAA has been working on for the last year. Who's the EBAA? We are the European Business Aviation Association. We look after nearly 700 companies within the field of business aviation. 143 of them are operators. And technically, we represent you, directly or indirectly. What we try to do is promote the excellence and professionalism among our members, enable our members to deliver best in class in safety and operational efficiency, represent our members' interests at a national level, at a local level, and at a European level. So whether it's through regional associations we're working with, it's your local government, your local NAA, but also the European Union and EASA. What we try to do is to ensure proper recognition of business aviation as a vital part of Europe's aviation infrastructure, supporting local and national economies. So not only the topic I'm talking about today, it's an exciting day for us today as well, because we commissioned a special Brexit report to look at the different things, different scenarios for business aviation particularly. With the help from Clyde & Co, we've created this report. The report will be out today, and I know Mark Bisset will be speaking tomorrow in more details. But this is one of the projects we do. And another exciting project is the safety conference, which we organize with EASA on the 15th and 16th of February. But back on topic. If we read what we see in the newspapers, it's all about perception. We have a big perception issue within the industry. Bad, better, and worst is what the general public, but also our policymakers walk away believing if they can believe what they read in the press. Jets is a favorite four-letter word for the tabloids, and they love to use and abuse it time and time again. And why is that? And how is it that something we know to be primarily used for private and corporate use, for the efficiency of the offer, is seen as wholly unjustifiable? As a consequence of the constant misperception, the EBAA started working on a project or a campaign back in 2014. And it started with a simple and very loud intervention by one of our leading members. Why do we have this perception problem to begin with? Following this, the EBAA has commissioned a lot of research into what the market thinks and how to change the perception of specific stakeholders. We do not expect to change the perception of the wider community, but all the important stakeholders dealing with business aviation should be reached and have the right understanding of what we do. That's the main aim. Following this, we created a strategy with clear KPIs and with what the brand message and feeling people must end up with. We've created a communications plan together with our communications team with a very targeted campaign. Again, we cannot change the perception of everybody. We have certain people we want to reach. The formal launch of the campaign will be at our AGM, which is in Brussels in March. So I will not go into too many details about the campaign itself, but we would like to share with you the thoughts which went into it. because the campaign should lead to changing the headlines and changing the perception for specific audiences. But most important, it will not be a one-size-fits-all campaign. We will measure, learn, and adapt it in the years going forward that the campaign is running. And we will need your help, feedback, and support about the message, about how you feel about it. Changing the headlines requires several things. People accepting that our offer has a level of desired exclusivity. People recognizing the diversity of the offer and its place in a larger mobility ecosystem. People rethinking exactly what it is what we are providing, other than the laundry list of advantages for the few. Here's where we came out with. We're actually selling space. Business aviation creates space to think, space to be, and space to create. All of the above are critical to anyone who uses what we offer and the time they save doing so. And said space can only be provided by what we call the campaign Expanding Horizons. Expanding Horizons will be the tagline that launches our campaign to shift perceptions across Europe. We call it Expanding Horizons as it covers what we as Business Aviation offer all our stakeholders, users, and prospects. Our vision, what lies over the horizon, what is our aim? That our sector will be amongst the audiences we're targeting being recognized as necessary, sustainable, and a generally valued transport option across the European landscape. And if we think about it, the European Union has connecting people and regional development as major cornerstones of their agenda. We, as an industry, are one of the few modes of transport that can deliver that all the time. So who are we going to target with this? First of all, users and prospects. We need to vindicate and validate the reason why they use us. We need to explain to them again and again that it's a good thing they're using. But at the same time, hopefully, will generate more demand. And with the toolkits we give, it is actually something more for you on the prospecting side. It's less on our side. The next one is one of the most important things for us as the EBAA. This is our main goal, our main role, our main strategic view for the next year. Governments, regulators, and local communities. We need to explain to all of them what business aviation does. That allows you to get slots at night, or opening times which are better, less specific business aviation aimed taxes, or simply a level playing field on from a regulatory perspective. This will be one of the main things we've been working on for the last few years and continue, but in this campaign it will be way more sophisticated how we will reach out to them. Part of it as well will be the next generation. We're not going to try to get every 18 to 24-year-old to understand business aviation. What we want to do is that all the boys and girls who are training to do something in business or in aviation, and we're going to make sure they understand that business aviation is an exciting part of the business to work in. It's very dynamic. And if we look what's currently happening, and if we look at the trends from an employment perspective, the main issue will be getting the right staff in the future. If you look at experienced pilots, there's a shortage already. Engineers, there has been one and it will only get bigger. So we have to make sure that we reach out to them and show that business aviation is an attractive employer. Last, but definitely not least, the business aviation community. This is you in this room. We want to engage with all of you and make sure that we have a united effort together with the tools we will give you to make sure that we all say the same things. We give you the information, you can share it with all the parties you're dealing with. We want you to be an industry ambassador. And the whole aim of this is that we need to position business aviation as the pinnacle of aviation. So what will be landing on your desk with your marketing team or on your own desk? We're going to supply you with surveys, studies, calculators, all kind of tools which makes it easier for you to explain what business aviation is, what it does for your local community, what it does for connectivity, all the things, all the questions you will get asked. We'll be doing all kind of exciting things on the communication perspective. We will create events, public relations, specific things on social media, also to make sure that all the stakeholders get all the information from all sides, yours, ours, etc. And last but definitely not least, we're creating toolkits which we'll hand out. We create workshops and we want to create a real business aviation community. So we all go in the right direction because we think we will have a positive return on investment on this, but we'll need your input for this. Expanding, so we say it's expanding horizons to help ensure the sustainable growth of business aviation. Because it's all about people, passion, and professionalism. And to conclude with that, the key for success lays not just with the EBAA, not with the campaign on itself, not with EBAA members alone. It lays with you, us, and the space we really sell. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully we'll be in touch with you and engage with you in the months to come. If you have any questions, ideas or feedback, my colleague Eric Drossen and myself are around and we would love to look forward to work with you further on this and hopefully work on changing the perception of business aviation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Slide. Okay, so you've got a couple of questions, Robert, if you want to come and relax on the couch, if you like. And I would like to point out this is a tough crowd. If we can put Slido up, please. And we'll start with the questions. Here's a great one. What metrics are you, to be honest, look around this room, you know, this is not the classic, many of the people in the room are not the classic creative PR agency types who would stand throwing the mood ball around, or sit throwing the mood ball. What metrics are you using to judge the success of this campaign? Because it's quite an expensive campaign, isn't it? You're putting quite a lot of resources into it.
Correct, yes. The members who are behind this are willing to make a big investment in it because it's a recurring theme whereby we have issues with the perception. So what metrics? We've basically created 0-point matrices in our research. So we know what's the perception of the different stakeholders. So we know on average whether people like or dislike business aviation, their thoughts about what it's all about. And that metrics will be followed throughout the process. So we constantly can see whether, let's say, the MAPs have a better understanding of business aviation, what the general perception is it just for fat cats or is it used for efficiency purposes.
Because we're talking millions of pounds going into this, aren't we?
Sorry?
We're talking millions of pounds going into this, aren't we?
It's a large
dollars.
investment.
Euros. Are your activities coordinated with NBAA, ASBAR, MEBA, or is this the...
It's very interesting to see that all the associations have exactly the same issue. The issue we have is it's all about communicating to the wider society what business aviation is about. So we've taken the lead on that, but we're doing a lot of work with the other associations, and some of them tag along with it.
Okay, great. A question from Bernhard Fragner at Globa. How many potential users, passengers, aircraft buyers, have you identified in Europe?
Well, for this campaign, we haven't specifically looked at that. The campaign is more about the bigger infrastructure around it. It's the people in the Brussels bubble. It's the regulators. It's people at airports. So it's actually all the people we need, and that's why I mentioned with the initial part, if we talk about the people, the prospects and the users, that actually will most likely come back to you. We will reach them, but only through the press, etc. But we want to give you a toolkit. If you reach out to them yourself, you'll have the tools.
You're kidding, sir. There's not, so as you'd possibly expect from this audience, oh great, we've got some positive points coming in. Space, you've not addressed, I think on the whole, I'm not sure everyone's convinced by the space argument. And one of the questions is, this doesn't address the rich playboy image. I assume they're talking about you here. Do you think, can we go through a bit more about the understanding behind space?
Well, the space thing is, the nice thing is we used a number of agencies who are from out the industry. And their remit was really specific. How is business aviation perceived by the people around it? And they came back and they said, well, actually, you create the opportunity for people to travel, to think, to do stuff they otherwise are not allowed to do. This is where the space comes from. Now, this is not the wording that you'll see going out. It's the concept they use, which we will use as part of the campaign, and each stakeholder will be addressed separately. They will have their own specific campaign with things which they're interested in, which is completely different for an MEP, a socialist MEP looking after an operation in Germany than somebody at EASA. And we're trying to address them very specific and explain to them, hey, look, this is what it does to you. At the end of the day, and that's why we as an association, we're not trying to sell as much to the public. We're not going after the users. That's your job. Our job is making sure that you have an environment, and actually, you have the space, to make sure that the rules and regulations are not overbearing, that the industry can grow by the people who might be able to stop you understand what we actually do and the value we bring.
Great, we've got a question over there.
Can you hear me? Yes, okay. A question for you. So you spend millions of pounds for a campaign to public, but in the meantime, you decided to cancel an event which was dedicated to the members, which was Europe. Can you explain the reason and the choice?
Absolutely. No, if you talk about value for money for the members, we cannot spend money of the members on an event if it doesn't reach the members. Now, the good news is we cancelled one of them because it moves to a location where we know our members can get in there much easier, and hopefully we have an agenda which is valuable to them. It's all about, it's not our money, so we cannot spend money on something if we don't see there's a value for members.
Okay, let's end with two last questions if we don't have any from the room. Okay, thank you, EBAA. This campaign is exactly what we need from our association. How long are you committing funds to it for? And that's Adam has asked it there.
Well, absolutely. Good question, Adam. It's a two-way street. We, as the EBAA, do what you, as members, want us to do. So if we decide after 1 year, look, it's not doing what we want to do, that's the answer. If you decide, well, the focus should change completely and it should be purely on members, that's what we do. So it's an ongoing thing. So the idea is a long-term commitment, but, And that's where you come in. At the end of the day, it's your feedback, it's your ideas which make it worth, and that's the plan.
Okay, final, very short answer. What is the one activity you want us all to do once we leave this conference?
I think the most important thing is, and this is actually a two-way street. We're going to make a much better effort in engaging you to do things to help us. Because we're here for you. We're here for the industry at large. We only have a limited amount of money, and we're very careful how we spend it. So what we want is we give you the tools, and this is where the business aviation community I referred to earlier comes about. It's all of us together reaching out, you on a local level or on a national level, we try to do on a European level. And I think it needs to be a very two-way street.
Great. So you want everyone in this room to be an ambassador?
That's correct.
All right. Go out and buy Ferrero Rocher. Thank you very much for everyone in this room. Thank you.